I think that the overarching message is we should be very wary of being pulled into anything based on narratives coming out of Ukraine or Russia. There's a lot of stuff that we hear about that turns out not to be true. The media is framing this in a way that is, and this isn't my analogy, but this is the way I feel, that Ukraine is like the child of a divorce, and they're fighting for custody, and Russia is the biological parent, and we are the stepmom who doesn't want the abusive dad to get him. That may not be an accurate analogy, but that's how I feel the narrative dynamic is going. And I see, and this is what I give credit to Zelensky, is that this is the old world versus the new world. Putin thinks the world is only about seizing land, but Zelensky understands in a world of connectivity, you're seizing minds now. He's fighting a persuasive battle for minds, and he's kicking Putin's butt on this. Whether the stuff that Zelensky is saying is actually true, it's positively Trumpian what Zelensky's doing. I love Zelensky the way a chicken loves the guy who feeds him pellets, because I'm in an industry where I love getting that pellet every day and learning what I'm going to say. But you have to wonder when you're listening to this stuff and whether these pellets are real or not, whether we are being artificially pulled into a conflict, right? Through this David and Goliath narrative that we're being given.
But it's true.
Well, maybe it is.
Yeah, it is
maybe
true.
it is.
Look.
Is this true? Maybe it is. I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm saying you have to be aware of what's true versus what stands out. Everyday planes leave every second of the day. The only thing that stands out is when a plane crashes. So we like the stuff that stands out to be reported, but it's not necessarily representative of reality. We have to ask ourselves every day, are we being manipulated into entering a war that we should be no part of? And I resent anybody saying, oh, you must be pro-Russia or pro-Putin. No, I'm just pro-America.
I sense, Greg, in you a conflict that you don't know, you're not convinced with the prevailing narrative.
That's a pretty good assessment. I can feel the galvanizing force of these stories that kind of have sped up and are accumulating to create a narrative, and they only go in one direction. And I understand why they only go in one direction, because it's the invaded who experience the atrocity, right? And that's all we're going to see. However, I can't help but feel that this is a lot like other stories that we've gone through in the digital age, in which an image is taken and then played over and over and over again to create some kind of emotional response out of you, because that makes a profit for news companies, right? So we had, for a long period of time there, we saw nothing but videos of police brutality. And then over time, we discovered the mundane reality that police were interacting with suspects in high crime areas, and that led to certain kinds of problems. That's the mundane reality. But instead, we were pummeled with images of police brutality, which led for a year of riots. There's some good things and some bad things coming out of this era. This is like a crisis that you're seeing in the digital age. So that means if there's almost a self-healing capacity around the world, everybody can join in and do something about it. I think that's really good, whether it's like humanitarian or what. We're all seeing it at the same time. There are crises like this that have happened for thousands of years and nobody knew. We just didn't know, but now we see it. The bad part about it is there is this galvanizing kind of narrative that is there to create a reaction. And if somebody like me says, hold on a second, and you try to counter the drumbeat, you're seen as an inconsiderate, cold-hearted pussy. But if you amplify this story, if you amplify that story, why can't you be called pro-war? If you want to push this stuff, why can't I call you pro-war? We're stuck in the prison of two ideas right now, where it's you're either got to be one way or you got to be the other. It's not as clear as that. It's somewhere in the middle, and just saying that you have to do something is not enough. Just because the news is pushing these videos at you doesn't mean you got to do something.
Families being ripped apart from their loved ones as they desperately try to survive. Benjamin Hall is live in Kyiv with more on this.
Yeah, good evening, Judge. And speaking as someone on the ground, I want to say that this is not the media trying to drum up some emotional response. This is absolutely what's happening. From the cities of Kharkiv to Mariupol to Chernihiv, they are being absolutely flattened. And from all corners of this country, people are fleeing for safety. 2 million of them, as you say, so far have gone. And in the city of Mariupol, people are drinking water from puddles because the Russian forces haven't allowed them to get out. When they have tried to get out, they are shelled. Those routes are mined. The Red Cross buses have been unable to get in. It is an absolute catastrophe. And the people caught in the middle are the ones who are really suffering. And don't take it from my words, take it from the words of some of those who are trying to flee. Have a listen.
We're just saving our lives, and that's it. That's all all we can do here.
What have you left behind?
Our families, everything. Everything is we have 2 bags and that's it.
Should I address Benjamin Hall's cheap attack on me, or should I be a good coworker
You can't
and let
say
it
that.
slide?
You can't say that.
Remember what you said about our reporters last week.
I said wonderful things
Be
about that.
collegial. Yeah.
No, I think
But he also promised he would say bad things the next day. Yes.
I did, but I will be the better man here. As I said before when this started, we want the quickest end possible. My concern has always been when a narrative creates a story that bolsters one side that is out of its element, will you create more suffering? That was the simple point I'm making, is that could this have been prevented if there was a reality-based decision made and not the David and Goliath narrative, which could prolong this and lead to more suffering and more humanitarian crisis?
What do you
Truth
mean,
is an absolute defense.
Yeah, two sides. What, 2 sides? You've got Putin who attacked Ukraine.
Yes.
What are the 2 sides? Is it justified?
Do you have time? Do you want to talk about it? Or do you want to stick to the simplicity of your
Oh, you mean there's some justification for the attack by Russia on Ukraine?
This is the problem. This is the problem. You can't actually talk substance about this.
But give us
Well, that's what we do.
one sentence.
It has been going on for decades.
This is like the Middle East. Up next, science
There you
Putin
go.
could be losing control in Russia.